Do you want to relive the golden days of Stockton? Join Nate Knott on Stockton Alive every first and third Monday at 6 p.m. Tune into thevoiceofstockton.org.
Ready to go? Okay.
Yes.
Cue us.
Welcome everyone. Testing. 1, 2, 3. We did have some technical difficulties earlier, so hopefully we don't have today. Testing. Ready. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Do you want us to test?
Go ahead.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 1, 2, 3.
Testing. Okay, it's going to be low, but it's going to
Okay.
Okay, welcome to TVOSJ, the voice of San Joaquin. And now it is time for Connections. Peace and Justice.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks, Betty. And so this evening we are going to be discussing Medicare for All, single payer, and it is a new year. We're here with Max Heinemann, who has been with us for many shows to discuss single payer and Medicare for All. And it is an election year, and finally we are in a year of decision where we are going to be discussing in the upcoming primary and coming up to the election, what are we going to do about health care in this country? And so welcome, Max.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Enjoy the opportunity to spread the word about single payer.
Definitely, yeah, because it's it used to be we were sort of out in the wilderness talking to ourselves, and nobody really wanted to hear about this harebrained idea that the rest of the world seems to be using to.
I'm not sure they want to hear about it now.
Well, I don't know. I think the more people hear about it,
it is the thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is the issue. It's the number one issue in California in voting. And
right.
I don't know if in other primaries, but it's among the top three among Democratic voters for sure. And
I think I didn't look up the statistics, but I think that I think it's like 71 or 3% of Democrats favor a Medicare for all or single payer system.
Yeah.
And the general population, I think it's right around 50%.
Yeah. And that's without even, having the full idea fleshed out to them. I just think a lot of people are fed up with the smoke and mirrors that they have that counts for healthcare in this country right now. And it's becoming pretty transparent that it's just a big profit center for a few people, and especially in the drug sector. Oh my gosh! The price of drugs has gotten to the point where people aren't taking them anymore because they can't afford to.
Right, I haven't looked at the statistics on that, but certainly drug collection. I mean, you get this. I've got at home. I can't tell you. I got 2 shelves of drugs.
Oh man, yeah.
And I recently had spine surgery.
Yeah. Okay.
And I do not like narcotic drugs. They make me crazy.
Oh, did they prescribe them for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when they got ready to release me from the hospital, my wife goes downstairs to the pharmacy, and they prescribed a big bunch of Norco for her.
Oh,
me.
And Norco is what? I'm sorry, I'm not really a drug person. Is it an opiate?
It's an opiate.
Okay.
Yeah, and not only that, she had to buy. Well, they required her to buy the Narcan kit.
Oh,
to go with it.
In case you OD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, or they
Yeah.
she accidentally pushed too many down me.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And the thing is, I can't believe she went down there without talking to me. I would have said, don't buy any of it.
Yeah.
I don't
right.
want any of it.
Right. Well, it's what's prescribed, and it's what is on offer.
It's prescribed. I don't have to
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, I know. And I would just at a sort of an aside on the drug thing, I would just like to see that, for all the, like you say, you have 2 rows of drugs on the top shelf. I'm sure like half of them are expiring on a regular basis. And the thing is I have stuff that's left over from tooth extractions from years ago.
Right, yeah.
And the thing is that
I used to squirrel away, if I got had dental work done,
Yeah.
or if I
Yeah.
had a little surgery done, because I had this terrible bad back for 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
And quite often I couldn't sleep.
Mhm.
But what would get me to sleep would be half a Norco
Oh.
or something. But I would do that once every few months.
Yeah. But some
I-
people get hooked on that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you have like people going to jail or worse to
Yeah, going to the morgue.
Yeah, going to the morgue. But but I would just like to see the shelves of drugs. And they say, oh, you bring them into for proper disposal. I just say, the drug companies has to buy those drugs back from you. If
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Oh,
is
yeah.
because that to keep them from
Well-
over prescribing and for giving you this stuff that you pay a ton of money for. Say, if you're going to charge me $10 a pill, and if I don't take, and you charge me for 10 of them, and I only use 7, I'm going to bring back 3, and I want $30.
Well, the thing is that it's been only recently that the pharmacies would take them back for destruction.
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
right.
And it took a lot of lobbying and legislation to have that happen. That was a big push I'm a member of California Association for Retired Americans,
Mm-hmm.
CARA.
Yeah.
And that was one of their, legislative things.
Victories, yeah.
Yeah, that they
Because before that, people were told to flush it down the toilet, which was like putting all sorts of medicines and narcotics and stuff into our drinking water, into what fish
Right.
we're drinking, and
Yeah.
going out into our oceans.
Oh yeah,
The amount of
just-
stuff that was going down the drain.
Yeah, so that's why I saved them.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it used to be, I thought, well, if I get to the point where I have that kind of pain, and I can't sleep,
Yeah.
I'll take half one.
Yeah. Okay.
And, I haven't had the spine surgery, so I don't have that kind of pain anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Well, that's good.
yeah.
That's good. So, the drug thing is the drug companies and the drug prices are, I think, what a lot of people notice most. They may not, after you came out of your surgery, you probably didn't get an invoice that you walked out of the hospital with. But a lot of people do know the price of their drugs because they're told, well, your carrier or your health insurance won't cover this drug. And so you're going to have to pay for it yourself, and it's going to be $300. Say, well, I can't afford that. How about the generic? Well, that's $120. Say, well, I can't afford that either. So
The thing is, Norco's pretty cheap.
is it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Sort of like So it's
I mean, you
different
can-
types of antibiotics or something.
Yeah. Well, some antibiotics are really expensive. I
Yeah.
guess I don't know.
Yeah.
They have cheap ones too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
The ones that don't work.
So anyway, but one of the things that I hear people say is that they are, with the current political situation, they're afraid they're going to lose their health insurance. They love their health insurance.
Well, I tell you, I'm one person who does not love my health insurance.
Oh, well, I don't think anybody does.
No. I think what when you talk
Really?
about, gosh, Anthem Blue Cross, man, I would just go to the ends of the earth for Anthem Blue Cross. I think that's the great. I mean, the thing is, to me, every year when we have our our open enrollment choices, the co-payments go up, or the deductible goes up, or the premium goes up, and generally we have to pay more to get less.
Yeah.
And that's the choice that the health insurance
I don't
companies
think
are.
people love their insurance company.
No.
They
Aetna?
no. They live in fear of losing their health insurance
Right, right.
carrier. And there's two strong emotions going on, two of the strongest, love and fear.
Yeah.
And they're also afraid they're going to lose their primary care physician.
Right.
Which is, probably to this evening I'll say PCP, which is, I mean, primary
primary
care
care physician. Right.
They're afraid of losing that service that they have.
Yeah.
But they really don't love the insurance company. They're confused.
Right.
And it's a pretty confusing situation.
Well, I think it's akin to where people are drowning, or they are grabbing onto whatever they can hold on to keep themselves from drowning. And and the life preserver they have is the health insurance company, even though they're not very happy with it. It's about the only thing that they have to keep themselves from becoming bankrupt if they have a severe
and they're afraid of
health insurance.
losing it because it protects their life or their family members' lives.
Yeah, and there. So in terms of in the single payer situation, I think it's incumbent on folks who are pitching single payer to specifically say what people are going to be getting, because I think a lot of folks are, especially the folks who are in a position to argue for the existing system. What they're saying is, well, Obama promised that you were going to be able to keep your physician. And see, that didn't happen, And
well, that's a bit that's true. But it's a bit of an exaggeration.
It is a bit of an exaggeration.
He didn't let you keep your crappy insurance plan that was going to, fail when you needed it.
Right. And the thing is that any of us who've gone through open enrollment know that the insurance plan that we're offered there's no guarantee that you're going to have that same insurance plan the next year. For sure, the numbers are going to change, the copayment, the deductible, and the premium. But also the thing is it may turn out that Aetna gives your company a better offer than Anthem, and then your company goes with Aetna, and Aetna has a whole different list of doctors, a whole different list of testers or formulary and everything, and a whole different set of drugs. And so when you are the employer trying to decide which of these two carriers you're supposed to go with, Aetna or Anthem, then you say, well, does Anthem really have the same doctor list that our people are used to? And then if those people aren't, if people who are in your, who are your employees, all are used to the Anthem doctors, then you're going to say, well, Aetna may be a little bit cheaper, but it's going to be much less disruptive for us to stay with Anthem. And I'm sure there's a certain economic, calculation that says, how can Anthem just price themselves just so much higher than Aetna, because that's the price that people are going to resist paying. So it's like 10% higher than Aetna. Okay, people can stay with Anthem. But if it's 25% higher, then okay, people are going to change with Aetna, and they're going to have to change their primary care physician.
I made a list of ways that people end up having to change their primary care doctor, or their health insurance.
Yeah.
One is you get sick or impaired and lose your job.
Yeah. Right.
Or you can't. You're sick and you can't.
Of course, if you lose your job, you can go on COBRA. If you're not fired. I mean, if you're terminated, if you quit.
If you check the price of COBRA.
Right, because the thing is that and that's where people are shocked to find out that, oh, I didn't know my employer was paying 75% of this, and I was only paying 25%. Now on COBRA, I have to pay the full 100%,
and then some,
and then a certain admin fee to the COBRA people. Right. Yeah. So even you can lose your health insurance, and then we have COBRA. So that, and maybe back in the 70s when COBRA was passed, it wasn't such a it was cheaper. Yeah. But now it's like COBRA. When people quit or when people leave where I work, nobody goes back on. Nobody uses COBRA to get back on the plan that we have. They will for dental. and they sometimes will for vision, and generally they will for dental. Well,
Which is, I was,
because dental's cheap.
Dental's
Relatively cheap.
But basically, what you get is about what it's going to cost you for your premium. Is
well, it's a prepay.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is if you're paying $100 a month for your dental, and that adds up to $1,200. Well, a couple of cleanings might cost you, $300, and then if you have so 300, so if you're paying $1,200 for 2 cleanings a year for $300, what you're paying for is $900 difference in the chance that you're going to have a crown, or if you're going to have a root canal, or if something catastrophic happens. Yeah. But even then, the dental benefit is capped out at $1,500 per person. So you've paid $1,200 for a $1,500 benefit, which sometimes will happen. And if you have bad teeth, then it's a good deal. But if you had really good teeth, then a lot of people will just pass up on dental and just pay the $300.
But if you get to be 80 years old like me.
You're 80 years old. My gosh, that's great.
Well, I will be this year.
Wow.
And I lost a tooth a few months ago.
Okay.
And that's the first one. And
wow. Well, then have you been paying for dental insurance all along?
No, I have not.
No. Yeah, because you have good teeth. So some people who have just teeth that just rot when you look at them. Yeah. I mean, then you have crowns all in your mouth, and and each of those crowns with the root canal could cost you a couple $1,000.
Oh, at least.
Yeah. So anyway, so sometimes dental is just a prepay.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's the way I look at it.
Because you have good teeth. But for some people, it can be a good deal. But for medical, like you say here, when you get sick or impaired or lose your job,
Right, I was going to say, so you get sick or impaired, lose your job, or your job changes in some way. That sometimes the employer goes out of business, or your employer moves out of the state or out of the country, downsizes or reorganizes and eliminates your job. Those are all ways that you're going to need to get some different,
some sort of coverage, some sort of covered California or something. Because when you start up with a new job, a lot of times, sometimes they cover you right off the bat, but sometimes they make you wait 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah, there's almost always going to be a few days or a week or two of uncovered. God help you if you have an accident during those few days.
Right. And who can predict that?
Another kind of one that really shocked me was UAW was striking against GM last year, actually.
Okay. Right.
And GM
stopped paying the premiums?
Well, canceled their insurance. They were striking for wages, and that's probably one of the biggest insurance companies, insurance providers in the United States, totally eliminated for a short period of time.
Now, this sort of thing, these sorts of gaps, these sorts of holes or crevices, would be solved by a single payer system, because you would not care whether or not you were employed someplace. In fact, the type of health coverage that they provided would bear it would have no bearing on whether you took a job or not with whatever employer, because everybody would have the same floor
from birth to death.
Yeah,
and that you'd have it automatically.
I think this people in this country can't imagine that. I mean, that would just be amazing. And I think that picture has not been painted really well to people to say,
they can't believe it.
No. How could that possibly be true?
And it's got to be horrifically expensive.
Yeah. Right.
It's not free.
No.
But it.
Nothing is free. But the thing is at least you've cut out a lot of the costs, a lot of the overhead costs.
And the individual is perhaps, depending on how it's set up, the individual is not going to be paying the cost for that necessarily.
Well, yeah. Well, that could be the case, but actually, it also could be the case. It just depends on how it's set up.
Right, exactly.
You
we
know.
don't know. We've seen several offers of probably one of the best ones, and I explored it and investigated it pretty thoroughly. Was one they were offering for California prior to the current state, and they
Before the current covered California, you mean?
No, it was after covered California, but before the current election.
Okay.
And before Bernie was and Elizabeth Warren were making their offers. So and they haven't come out and said, and they haven't notified me a whole lot about the actual cost.
Right.
And what the actual cost is going to be to individuals.
Right.
And but California did some research on that 4 years ago, or three 4 years ago, and it was going to be way less than anybody paid for insurance.
Yeah.
And so and it was going to be funded by mostly by a tax that the employers or manufacturers paid on their payroll.
Yeah.
But they weren't complaining about it.
No.
Because it was less. It was going to cost them less than what they were paying if they had employees they were covering for insurance.
You know, and it's not. And I've said this many times on this show. It's not just that cost. It's not just the dollar cost. It's also the time and the liability that you have in taking responsibility for people's health care. As an employer, you're the person who has to go. You have to come up with a census that says, what just to get a quote from a health insurance company, you have to come up with a census that shows the age and the sex and any pre-existing conditions that your staff has, and you send that into an insurance company, and actually you send it out to a lot of insurance companies, and they take a look at it, and then they come back with a quote and says, well, I'll give you this. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
There's no negotiation.
And then if during the year one or more of your employees has a very like
cancer or something,
like 3 employees have a serious cancer.
Yeah, you can count on your next year's premium going up like 30%.
Yeah. And people are not going to be able to afford
that. That's what happens. A lot of times with these premiums is that they go up, sort of slowly and steadily, 2%, 5%, 2%, and that's every year. They never go down, ever go down. And so they go up little by little by little. Sometimes, and that's compounded, right? So it's like, if you had a savings account and you had 5% going up every year, that's not just 5%. It's going to be
7.5%.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because it's now 5% on top of the 5%. Yeah. And so, and then what you'll have is you'll have a catastrophic situation like that, where we've had that before, where you had a few people who had who when you turn in your census, oh yeah, we have a cancer patient, or we have a somebody who's who has some severe high cost medical situation, and what they want to do is they want to pre-collect their funds. They're going to raise your rate by 30% so that they can anticipate having to pay for that person through the coming year. And so it's just and it's very narrowly focused to your little group. So the thing is that you might have a company right next door to you who has not a whole lot of bad experience ratings, and so they're going to go along at the 5%, which is still making a ton, of money for the insurance, and their increases are always higher than the rate of inflation. And so because you have this person in your pool, it jacks you up way higher than that same company would be, as if and so what that does is that the next year when you have this 30% increase premium, then you have to say, okay, well, we're going to have to spread this amongst everybody, so everybody's insurance is going to go up 10%. And what that does is that the person who is barely being able to pay the prior year's premium now can't afford it.
Yeah.
And then they go off insurance and they try to find some other way to get by, or they, so the thing is it has real life consequences when these increases go year after year, because the employer is trying to, the best of employers is trying to do the best for their employees and trying to pay them, both wages and benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But when benefits takes away what you would have given away given in a wage increase, you can't give that wage increase.
Yeah, this I don't think they can do this anymore. But my wife's sister-in-law had skin cancer,
Okay.
melanoma, and big spot on her back.
Yeah.
And it was removed, and she was followed up with treatment and so on, and did all of the things she was supposed to do, was supposedly cancer-free,
Mm-hmm.
but they were checking her every 3 months and so on, and her employer was looking for health insurance coverage for, he had a small,
Mhm.
this was a
Small group?
small group.
So they fired her.
Well, she had to sign a statement that she would not take out the insurance plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't
Yeah.
think that's legal
No,
anymore.
no. Well,
but
yeah.
it-
The thing is that, well, also, when a company makes decisions as to whether or not to hire or retain somebody, they're going to take a look at the older person
Right.
and say, "I'm sorry, we really do value your experience, but your health insurance just really hits our bottom line badly. So we're going to have to let you go."
Well,
But
she
they,
was-
they can't really say that. But the thing is they'll figure out ways to
she was-
minimize
she
that
was-
cost.
She was valuable enough
Mm.
to them that they really wanted to have her continue
Mm.
to work, which she did. And
Without health insurance?
well, she
After
had,
coming out of cancer
well,
therapy?
she had private. She had private.
Is that in California?
Yeah,
Oh,
Bay Area.
jeez.
And it was horrendous.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when it was first diagnosed, she did not have insurance because they had the there was a what do you call it, a group in the Bay Area.
Uh-huh.
They call those I've forgotten.
PPO? Oh.
But yeah, it was probably
Mm.
that was the type of insurance,
Uh-huh.
but it was a they were around all over the place 20 years ago.
Okay.
And so they had that, and just before she was diagnosed, it went belly up
Oh.
because they weren't terribly
Yeah.
reliable.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
they weren't financially, they weren't managed for those kind of disasters.
Well, and that's the thing is when you parcel out all these smaller groups, and the reason why these smaller groups are well, I mean, sometimes you're stuck working, with a group that doesn't have enough employees who can make up a large group. But what'll happen is that then all of those smaller groups are going to be charged higher rates because the group in general, unless you have a young single group or whatever, but generally if it's an older group, you're going to be charged higher rates than other places, and insurance companies make money off that.
Yeah.
And it's yeah.
She, the owner, and she, I think, were the oldest people. The rest of them were pretty young,
uh-huh.
and she managed
Uh-huh.
this, and so she was a valuable employee.
Sure.
So they were going to keep her.
Sure.
So she agreed to go out and get her own
Yeah.
and sign a statement that she would not take the insurance that the company was offering.
Man. This is Peace and Justice Connections. We're talking with Max Heinemann. We're talking about single-payer healthcare and why it might just be a little bit better than what you already have.
No, actually, I was, one of the things I looked at in the last few days was the PNHP, Physicians National Health Program. Their current PNHP, Physicians National Health
Program.
Program.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's they advocate Medicare for all.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have for some time.
Mhm.
they did some research on the cost of health insurance, and they discovered that they look at what it costs the physicians.
Oh, yeah, right.
To a large extent.
Yeah, it's good that everybody looks at it from their own perspectives.
Yeah, and what they discovered is that it cost in 2017. Providing these insurance plans costs Americans $812 billion, and that's
For what?
Primarily for the paperwork. To bill
$800 billion
$800 billion
for paperwork.
for paperwork.
Yeah.
And I don't think that includes there's paperwork at the other end too.
Oh, I know.
And
I know that. Definitely.
I don't know that it may include some of that, but I don't know that it includes all of that.
Yeah.
So this is just what it costs the physician's office.
Yeah.
That kind
Wow.
and that's about 34% of our healthcare dollar.
Yeah. Well,
Nationally.
I'm trying to think of how the numbers work, but I think I've told you before is that that we had an experience where under the Affordable Care Act, the health insurance companies aren't allowed to charge more than 15% of their dollar. They're not supposed to pay charge more than 15% for administrative fee. And so
That's at their end.
That's at their right. So the thing is again 15% on their what they're calling administrative fee. Mm-hmm. So the thing is they can define that however they want. Right. And so the thing is you can say that that huge machine over there or that cluster of employees, they're not really admin costs. They're really program costs because they do outreach to patients or they do different things, but it's not called admin, or maybe it's called research and development when it's really advertising. But in any case, it's not admin. And so, however, admin is shown, but they're not supposed to charge more than 15%. And if they do charge more than 15%, then they have to rebate that back to the person they charge it from. And so, in the last couple years,
right.
Anthem Blue Cross charged more than 15%. And so what we got is we got a letter, and I think I told you this before.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Is that we got this letter that said, oh, here you are. Here's your rebate check. Here's $20,000. Make certain you give that back to all the employees who we've overcharged. It's like, not only do you force us to have to pay to identify and charge these people, and then when you guys overcharge us, what we have to do is we have to go through and find these people who may or may not work for us any longer, and we have to go and figure out how to pay them back pre-tax dollars.
That cost is part of this $812 billion.
Yes.
Like your cost.
Yeah.
Is part of this $812 billion.
It's absurd.
Right. It's not all of it.
No. Because it's spread out over a lot of people. Yeah. So that got them down to the 15%. But again, the 15%, I'm sure it's how they calculate admin costs and how they determine what admin cost is.
But I haven't heard recently how much it's going to cost, how much it would cost to have Medicare for all, but it's not too far off of that figure. The additional cost to have everybody
covered,
for everything,
rather than having millions of people uncovered.
Right. And people poorly covered. Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Right. Because the thing is that to go back to your first point was saying, people just they're afraid. Mm-hmm. They're afraid to lose whatever coverage they have. It may be the worst coverage. It may be the worst thing on earth, but at least it's something.
Yeah, those people who complain that under Obamacare they couldn't keep their insurance, that was really poor insurance they had,
Yeah.
or they could have kept it.
Yeah.
And
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's what the current administration is trying to do, is they're trying to get around those rules by saying, well, let's just water down the requirements of what a normal insurance.
We'll buy our insurance in Alabama.
Yeah. Right.
And,
yeah.
and there's some of that's going.
Yeah.
I don't know about Alabama.
No, but out of
Texas
state,
is
out,
pretty bad
out
too.
of state, yeah, and that's where you find that that group. Well, that group went belly up. I'm sorry, they can't cover you anymore.
Right.
You phone them up, and I'm saying, they're.
Oh, well, I think I talked to
sorry.
you about this company. I don't know where the company's out of, but they insured the employees in Modesto.
Okay.
And I was seeing one of Modesto's employees, and our secretaries, they check, when somebody comes in, and is this person covered? Will you pay us? And so yes, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go ahead and see him, and they paid one or two, and then they quit paying,
Mm-hmm.
and then the secretary or the business person comes in and says, oh, this person's insurance isn't paying. Doc wants you to quit seeing him. And I said, I can't quit seeing him. And besides, you said that they're paying. Well, they did pay, but now they're not. And so we'll call them and see what the
what the deal, what the hang up is.
You're all fine. We'll be paying.
Did they?
No. and I call the Modesto City HR.
Yeah.
And I say, what's with your insurance plan? Well, I don't know. We're experiencing some problem with them, but don't worry. If they don't pay, we'll pay.
Okay. No.
Well, and then I incurred quite for me.
Yeah, it's been a lot of time on this.
Yeah, quite a bill, and quite a bit of time.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit of time calling.
Chasing it. Yeah.
Chasing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I ever did collect.
Yeah.
I collect some, but then the city was saying, oh, well, we didn't expect to go way back beyond, this was in 2018. We didn't expect to go back to 2017.
That's a prior fiscal year. I mean, we had, that's,
it still cost me.
Yeah, it still costs you. And the thing is, you should have known that your medical insurance company was derelict and that they weren't,
they did know because we called them. And they said, well, no worries because we will pay. And then they paid. So I got some I had gotten a little bit from the insurance company. I got some from the city of Modesto, and then they complained about the ones that were back in 2018, and I don't think they ever did pay any on those.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, it was more than they thought it was going to be. And I say, yes, but it's the amount.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that was supposedly covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was what we were told.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you're acting like the insurance company and saying, oh, well, the insurance company said, oh, I don't think we're gonna have to pay this. These are contracts. These are contracts that people go into.
Well,
and
of course, our contract was with the insurance company.
Right. Exactly.
It wasn't specifically with the city of Modesto.
Right.
But they are responsible for their employees, and they did tell us that they would make it right. They verbally told us that.
The way out of a lot of this is a single payer system.
Right.
I mean, I think most employers do not want to get into that city of Modesto discussion. They don't want to be stuck in the middle between the insurance company and you.
Don't want to have that discussion either.
No. And the thing is the providers would rather not have to deal with whether or not the insurance company is going to pay you, or if you're not in their network, or there is just so much it's just so complicated. It is about the most complicated thing on earth.
Oh, and guess what? It costs money to complicate that.
It does. It costs a ton of money, and I can help you with that. There's a lot of people who facilitate this, and I'm not an advocate for for people losing jobs, but I am an advocate for people wasting their lives doing worthless work. I mean, if people are spending their time doing this sort of work that can be dealt with by having a single payer, and you do not have to have that extra payroll person, that person can be all those people who are working in those jobs have skills. I mean, they can work computers, they can work phones, they have math skills, they are very good at arguing and discussing things. I mean, I don't see.
They understand some medical issues.
And so the thing is that, maybe in the process of saving some of the money on the duplicative stuff and not overpaying the drug companies and not overpaying the medical device companies, maybe those folks can be employed in providing service for all the people who are uninsured and people who already know. I mean, hire them in the Medicare system, because there is going to be a need for more. I mean, if you have everybody in this country being served by a medical system, what you essentially do is you just transfer people from doing worthless work that is providing profit for huge corporations, and you change them to doing worthwhile work covering everybody.
I can actually tell you the figure that if they had Medicare for all in the United States, the people say, oh, well, we'll be using so much health care that we'll totally be unable to afford it.
Right.
The fact is that the amount of health care that's going to increase is 12%, which is not insignificant.
No, it's not.
But we have all those people who are working for the insurance company
Right.
that can be retrained.
Right.
And that's when you do the single payer plans or the Medicare for all plans, they have multi-year, like up to 5 years of available training for people currently working for the insurance company.
Yeah, because when people are talking about doing cost estimates, they're saying, oh, it's going to cost $30 trillion over the next 10 years or whatever, or $30 trillion. Yeah, but keeping the status quo is going to cost $35 trillion. So the thing is, you're losing. I mean, and so how does that happen? Well, because even if you are, instead of that 35 trillion,
410 trillion.
Is that what it is? I'm sorry.
Maybe, I don't know how.
But
that's one that we quote.
But the thing is that that's a ton of money. But it's we all know that the current system we have is wasteful, and that's why so many people are backing a healthcare for all or a single payer system that makes sense. And I think regardless of whether or not the details are in the in the last issue of Connections, I put the headline was how Warren's Medicare for All plan hurts the cause, primarily because the way that she proposed to pay for it. And so the thing is that what has to happen is how it's paid for has got to be doable, understandable, and it has to happen quickly. And so the problem that I had and this article had with Warren's idea was, it was going to be a wealth tax or something, or it was going to be something that was going to take a very long time to get through Congress. Because right now, Congress is if you haven't noticed, Congress is a little divided right now. And so you're not going to get any Republicans to buy onto a wealth tax for Medicare for all.
Those senators are being lobbied and influenced to not approve a single payer or Medicare for all, because there's big corporations earning big money on our backs with all of this medical.
Yeah, and all that dark money is plowing into their campaigns this time around. And so I wouldn't put Dianne Feinstein out of that loop either. Because she's a pretty conservative and pretty anti-Medicare for all senator. And so she's a person who, the Dems will all go along with this stuff. It's not the case. There are some very well-heeled Democrats who are bought and sold by the medical industry, and it's going to be a push. But the thing is that I saw something Joy Reid had on her show. It was an MSNBC show that she does on the weekends, and she just very clearly just showed how easy it could be to get into a Medicare for All system, whereas all you're doing is you're going to take off the line on your paycheck stub that says, the health insurance charge, and then you're just going to have your Medicare line go up by a certain amount, and it's not going to go up by the same amount. Or it may go by the same amount as what your health insurance line is. It depends on how it all works out.
Right.
But it's not. That's the
Probably,
simplicity.
Actually, that one that California spent a lot of time, and that was studied very thoroughly by Amherst. University
Okay,
of
right.
Massachusetts. They did a really good job of studying that, and they projected doing I don't know if there was I think it was 1.5 or 2% sales tax.
And you could do a sales tax too. Yeah, because the sales tax would be, again, a sales tax is normally is a state tax or it's a local tax. It's not a federal tax normally.
This is for the state of California.
Okay.
Yeah. And
because this was talking about a single payer for the state of California.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And and then they had a 7% tax on industry on their income for all industry making over $2 million in income, just not not profit, but just income over $2 million and more than 50 employees.
But and so the thing is if you're going to go we also ran an article that discussed how difficult it would be to go state by state, because the thing is that what you're getting, like say if there's something like this where you have an industry tax or something like that, a lot of people, and I don't necessarily agree with them, but a lot of people would say, well, California just taxes itself to the point where it loses jobs. And I'm not a person who advocates endless population increases into California. I think 40 million is more than enough. Thank you. We don't need any more people coming here. But the thing is a level playing field would say, okay, if we can have this sort of if it can be done nationwide, and what you can do is you can have, a nation. Right now, when people look at their pay stubs, they don't necessarily know what all those lines mean. In fact, a lot of them don't. They don't know what FICA is. They don't know what Medicare. They don't know what SDI or other things that come out of their checks, or the state and federal tax withholding. And so, the thing is that it's if it comes out of your paycheck, and if it's explained to you that this is going to provide you with health care, that you will not, and it'll be easy. It will be every year. You won't have to go through an open enrollment. You won't have to figure out how many babies you have that you've gotten and how many you have to add, and you won't have to figure out. You won't have to say, well, I've had cancer, so I guess I can't sign up this year, huh? So you won't have to think about that.
Kind of interesting. I talked with Poland. He was the head of the economist, the head of the study that California did.
Okay.
And he was saying that 7% that they collected from industry, not all factories and so on, but in general, had they known how much that was going to generate, he said, we would have done it differently. We could have maybe done it without any sales tax at all.
Yeah, right.
Because we probably needed the sales tax, but this was happening about 5 years ago, and he was projecting this for like 4 years.
Yeah. Well,
and he said we wouldn't have needed any of this other stuff had we known the growth that was going to happen in California.
Yeah. And that's the thing you have to I'm sure whatever single payer comes through, it'll be administered similar to Medicare, and then there'll be a Medicare trust fund,
Right.
and that whatever funds come in.
That's what they propose.
And you have to have that because the thing is that the economy will go up and down, and what you have to do is you have to be able to be flexible, to be able to charge to charge a certain amount when economic times are good, so that when economic times are bad, you have less economic activity.
Right.
You have a lower base on which the percentage is based, and so you're not going to be you're going to end up running negative. Like right now, people are talking about, and another article in this thing is talking about, and we're not talking about Social Security right now, but we're talking about fixing Social Security on page 5 of your connections, and what this is a Dean Baker article, and he's a decent economist who talks about, we don't have to talk about the doom and gloom insolvency problem of Social Security. All we have to do is increase a percentage here and change a income limit there, and Social Security can be solvent way into the future. And that's the same thing with Medicare. What you have to have is on those boards people who believe in Medicare and people who believe in Social Security and who aren't out to try to bankrupt them or to get rid of them. Because the people who are talking doom and gloom of Social Security, those are people who say, well, we have to privatize Social Security. It should be all 401ks. Because the thing is that
we want to
because I want a commission on that. and that's exactly the people who are talking doom and gloom on Social Security, because it's a man-made system. It can be fixed. It's a person-made system, I should say. So the thing is that in the same way with Social Security, same sort of thing with Medicare, is that there is no income limit on that. But you could also talk about, well, how about if we talk about a percentage of your stock option that you take or your capital gains that you take? Because a lot of very well-off people don't really earn all their money in salary. They earn it in stock options.
Right.
So the thing is, you can't get people to avoid their Medicare obligation just because they take their income in a different way.
Right.
And so there has to be a little bit of sophistication as to how that happens. I'm sure, I admire that Elizabeth Warren is talking about Medicare for all, and that she's talking about trying to do it through a wealth tax. But realistically, what we have to do is we have to get this thing started, and then at some point, if it has to be bolstered with a wealth tax, I would say maybe 10 years from now, if you need that fund to get a little bit higher, then yeah, put a 2% wealth tax in there for to try to beef up the fund.
And Sheena needs to have a sit down with some economists.
Yes.
And I mean, she is I guess I don't know if she's an economist.
I don't know.
She's
She's a lawyer.
She's a lawyer, and she definitely understands.
Yeah,
it.
she's very bright. So I mean, the thing is that I know that but she's also running for president. She's trying to she doesn't want to have a middle class tax increase, which is what the media likes to throw out there.
What I was going to point out is I've been aware of her since she was teaching at
Harvard, or was
Harvard,
it?
I remember an interview with her. She was sitting in her office at Harvard, sitting on the window ledge, and she talked about Medicare, not Medicare for all. She talked about single payer, and what that has to come. And she was talking about the banking, consumer protection.
Right.
She talked about those two things, and I'm saying, oh my God,
yeah,
why isn't she running for president?
Right. Yeah. Before she was even a senator.
No. Yes. It was before she was a senator.
Yeah.
Before she. Way before.
Yeah. Yeah.
She hasn't been a senator all that long.
No, she hasn't.
And I keep saying, where is this Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah.
Why isn't she out there?
Definitely.
Well, she is now.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, and then she could be the first woman president, because the thing is, it's still out there, and really, it is. February 28th is the deadline to register to vote, and March 3rd is our primary, and it's really important that we get. I mean, every year that we don't go for a Medicare for all system is a year that we waste billions of dollars. And also people are and thousands of people die, thousands of people go untreated, and people are suffering.
Well, this isn't all of it, but this is the big thing that really blows me away. $812 billion
in paperwork,
in doctor office and
Yeah.
insurance paperwork.
Yeah,
and-
I mean that's the military budget.
Yeah.
That's the military budget.
And that is pretty much
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I'd have to
Yeah.
figure it out. But
Yeah.
what they say Medicare for all would
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah. What I was reading in other place is that, and I don't know if they brought this up at the debates. They had the last debate in Iowa just a couple weeks ago, and so they're bringing up all the cost of Medicare for all and how we can't afford this, and yet like half the show was talking about going to war with Iran. And nobody even brought up how much that costs. I mean, the thing is going to war, having endless war is somehow costless and somehow is something that we can always afford because, we don't mind blowing up bridges and then, or having our planes crash and having people die. But when it comes to time to trying to figure out how to keep people alive,
Right.
we try to put a dollar value on that.
And why the hell would we want a war with Iran?
Yeah.
I mean,
Because it's money. It's money, pure and simple. That's the problem with all of this, is that there's the bottom line is the bottom line. And so military contractors are making a lot of money on endless war. And after the end of the Cold War, they had to figure out, well, who are we going to, how are we going to keep ourselves going? We don't have an enemy any longer. Well, let's come up with a generic terrorist, and what we'll do is we'll have a war on terrorism, which isn't even an enemy. And so what we'll do is that's perfect, because that means we can have an endless war against terrorism, because there's always something we can call terrorism all over around the world. We'll spend trillions of dollars on that, and then we'll bankrupt the country and not be able to afford things like, basic medical care, which the rest of the world handles very well. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Yeah.
So anyway, the hour's sort of gone by.
is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fast.
So anyway, so Max, excellent. Thanks so much for coming in and discussing this. This is an important year for decision,
I really looked in depth at that. Why people love insurance.
They love their insurance companies.
Well, they
man.
think they do.
Well, because they're told that they're told that's what the poll tells them. We've polled people, and people say they love Aetna or they love Anthem.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't. No.
It's not love.
It's
fear.
Fear. Yeah, it's white-knuckled fear. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Max. Very good. And this is Bruce Giudici with Peace and Justice Connections, and have a nice evening.
Okay, you too.
You too.
I'll let you keep those.